Hi, my name is Jayden, and it's time for me to make my Meet the Alters video. I put this video off for a long time, and I think you might be able to tell why as I get into it a little bit, but my history as a persecutor did not make me excited to share that information about myself publicly. But I have decided that it could potentially help a lot of people, and I think that makes it worth it. Before I get into all of that, my name is Jayden, and I use they/them pronouns. I don't identify as male or female. I am an integrated alter, and one of the alters who integrated was male and one was female, so that complicated my view of my own gender. I am an elf. You should be able to see from my picture my pointy elf ears. I use magic in our inner world like most of us do, especially our protectors. And I have a long list of roles that I will go through right now. I am Primary Communications Coordinator, which I don't think I've seen any other systems use that specific term. I think I made it up. That doesn't mean that we're the only system who uses it necessarily, but I didn't specifically take it from anywhere else. It's interconnected with my role as gatekeeper to some extent, but I do a lot of sending messages, the form of communication that you might expect, but I also just keep track of a lot of things. I keep track of where various alters are in our inner world and what they're doing and who they're with and those types of things. I keep track of relationships between different alters, whether or not different alters like each other, what aspects of our system overall and the way we do things various alters like or don't like, that kind of thing. It's a lot of information helpful for being an internal protector as well, and I'm a secondary internal protector because I keep track of the perspectives and opinions of various alters inside, which helps if someone is upset about something, that I have a better chance of knowing why, even if they aren't particularly upfront with that information. I only recently officially became primary gatekeeper, and that is because our previous primary gatekeeper became a persecutor and is still a persecutor, and that basically power struggle is still in progress, which was another reason that I didn't make this video sooner. I don't really want to get into that right now. Maybe someday when it is resolved, we'll make a video on that specifically. But it's an ongoing process. And I am not going to talk a whole lot about that job right now because I'm very new to it. And I am very much still learning everything that it entails. But my previous experience working with gatekeepers and being a communications coordinator has helped me to have some idea what I'm doing going into that role. I am a secondary internal protector and external protector, so if my particular skill set is needed in either of those areas, and or if just an additional available alter is needed in either of those areas, I am one of the alters who will be on call, essentially. So if some kind of crisis is starting to go on inside in one of our various subsystems or in any other area of our inner world, or if something stressful is happening externally with the body, I am one of the protectors who might front, depending on what type of stress it is. I am very likely to front if it feels like we're being manipulated in any way. I also, you'll know this from our video on reasons to leave a therapist if you watched that, but I am the specific protector who almost always fronts the first time or two that we see any new doctor or therapist or anything like that. And I vet them essentially to see if there are any red flags, and I pay very close attention to the ways that we are treated by medical professionals overall. And I have different tests and things that I try to fairly subtly, for the most part, use to see if there are a cause for concern in any way, essentially. I am also a secondary internal conflict negotiator, which is very closely tied to being communications coordinator and being an internal protector, because again, it involves I think of it this way. I start out as communications coordinator hoping to limit the amount of conflict overall that happens. But if conflict comes up, we try to negotiate that and talk through it before it becomes cause for internal protecting. But if it gets to that point, I will also be involved in that. I am also one of our main trauma holders. I am one of the earliest splits from what would later become the Dark Core subsystem. I'm not a part of that subsystem. It didn't exist yet when I split from the original trauma holder, which would eventually become mostly Jade as she is today, but also the other various members of that subsystem and many other, mostly fragments, that have split off of that subsystem since. And finally, I am one of our system's executives, so I am involved in making decisions that affect our whole system. My jobs, however, used to look pretty different from the list that I have now. Like I said already, I used to be a persecutor, but I technically used to be two persecutors, because like I also said already, I am an integrated alter, so I am the result of the fusion between Michael and Natalie. And Natalie had just recently become a persecutor right before that fusion took place. And before becoming a persecutor, Natalie was a co-host who helped with a lot of just productivity things, really, like housework, the job that we were working at the time, and schoolwork were some of the major areas that I, as Natalie, was very, very involved in, and mostly at the point where it started overwhelming everyone else. So I, as Natalie, would front if our to-do list was getting too long, and I didn't have trauma as Natalie. So that's hard for me to reconcile with who I am now, but I didn't have trauma as Natalie, which made it much easier for me to front and just knock out a lot of productive things all at once, which helped with the stress levels of our other hosts, co-hosts, and protectors. As Michael, however, Michael is the one who split from our original trauma holder very early in our childhood. And Michael was also an introjective abuser, which is the main reason that I put off making this video. I am very glad that I am no longer an introjective abuser. I am glad I don't look like him, and I am way more glad that I don't act like him, but I did for a long time. And as Michael, I was essentially dictator in a lot of ways of our system overall. I was very controlling. I was coming from the perspective of a protector in a lot of ways, but I needed to have control over everything, and I was very particular about what was okay and what wasn't okay. I am the reason it took so long for Aura to learn about the system, and I attempted to continue to keep that information from her even when she already had it. I also, in a lot of ways, made life harder for Jade for a lot of years. But I would also do things like try to keep Littles from fronting, because that seemed like a safety risk to me, and tried to keep us from seeming vulnerable or like anything was wrong for a long time. And some of that was necessary for a while, but the way that I did it wasn't okay, and I continued doing it when it was no longer necessary, which was very difficult for me to see at the time. I strongly believe now that no one should have to be treated the way that I was treated, or the way that I treated other people. And that pretty much sums up my perspective on my history overall. If you have any questions for or about me, feel free to ask. I can't promise to answer all of them, but I'll see what I can do. There are certain types of information that I'm not comfortable being public, so that will definitely factor into whether or not we answer certain types of questions, but you can always feel free to ask. It's on us to not answer any we're not comfortable answering. And we do like questions overall. There are things that we might not think to talk about unless they're brought up by you. So feel free to bring up ideas for videos or just shorter questions for us overall. We are willing to do more Q&A videos like we have before. But generally, if you have any questions, just let us know. I don't think there's anything else I want to say about myself for right now, so thank you for watching, and like the video if you liked it, and subscribe and ring the bell if you want to see future videos that we make. We are now making videos every weekday, which is a lot of videos, so there are topic videos like this one, and gaming videos that are more chill and relaxed for the most part, so if any of that sounds interesting, then make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any. Thanks again for watching. Bye.